Hi everybody. This is part 1 of Horizons Beyond, The Adventures of Eli and Lila. Enjoy! Eli Marrow, a young boy of 10 summers, stood atop the jagged rocks, the spray of the ocean mist cooling his flushed face. His eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the sky met the sea in an ever-shifting dance of blues and greens. The salty tang of the ocean filled his nostrils, and he could almost taste the freedom that lay beyond the distant waves. His mop of unruly chestnut hair, so like the tangled seaweed that swayed beneath the surface, whipped about his face in the stiff sea breeze. His skin was weathered from the sun and wind, his arms and legs strong from hours spent climbing over the rocks and swimming in the cold waters. He wore a loose-fitting shirt, the color of the sky, faded from countless washings, and patched trousers that bore witness to his adventures along the coast. Around his neck, a small compass hung on a leather thong, a gift from his father that he cherished as a symbol of the life he dreamed of leading, one filled with adventure and the freedom of the open seas. His hands, though small, were calloused and strong, roughened from pulling on ropes and hauling nets. There was an air of quiet determination about Eli, a sense that he belonged not only on the rocks but also out upon the vast ocean beyond. His eyes held a wisdom that belied his years, a deep understanding of the world and the dreams that stirred within him. His voice, when he spoke, was soft and calm, yet carried a certain weight that demanded attention. Eli's closest friend, Lila, was a spirited and adventurous soul, much like himself. With her head full of curly auburn hair that bounced with every step she took, her vibrant green eyes alight with mischief and curiosity, she was a sight to behold. She was slightly taller than Eli, moving with the grace of a cat, quick and agile. Lila was the only one in the village who truly understood Eli's dream, as she shared a similar longing for adventure. They were inseparable, always found together, playing pirates and explorers, their imaginations running wild. The two of them would spend hours upon the rocks, plotting their future voyages, discussing the exotic lands they would visit and the treasures they would find. Eli would regale Lila with stories of his father's travels, and she would listen intently, her eyes shining with wonder. In return, Lila would tell of her own dreams, of one day becoming a great explorer or a fearsome pirate queen. Together, they were unstoppable, their bond unbreakable. The sun was starting to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Eli and Lila sat side by side, shoulders touching, watching as the day drew to a close. They knew that soon they would have to part ways, Eli returning to his humble home and Lila to her larger, more chaotic family. But for now, they were content, basking in the warmth of each other's company and the shared dream that bound them together. As the last rays of light faded from the sky, Eli glanced over at Lila, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You know, Lila," he said softly, "one day, I'm going to take you with me on one of my adventures. We'll sail far beyond these rocks, across the endless ocean, and see the world together." Lila's eyes shone with tears, but she smiled back at him, nodding fiercely. "And I'll be there every step of the way," she promised. "Because adventure is waiting, my friend. And we're going to seize it with both hands." And as they stood there, the salty sea breeze whipping through their hair, they knew that no matter what obstacles lay before them, they would face them together. For they were not just friends, but comrades in arms, bound by a shared dream of a life filled with adventure and the freedom of the open sea. Eli's gaze drifted back to the horizon, where the waves crashed against the jagged rocks, their white caps glimmering in the dying light. He wondered what secrets lay hidden beneath the surface, what treasures and wonders awaited them in the vast expanse of the ocean. His heart beat faster at the thought, and he felt a thrill course through him, as if the very sea itself were calling to him, urging him onward. Lila, too, felt the pull of the ocean, the yearning to explore the world beyond their tiny village. She reached out and took Eli's hand in hers, squeezing it gently. "I can't wait for the day when we're out there, together," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sailing the high seas and making our mark on history." Eli smiled down at her, his blue eyes twinkling with determination. "And we will, Lila," he promised. We'll make it happen, no matter what. They stood there for a moment longer, lost in their shared dream, oblivious to the world around them. And as the last rays of sunlight disappeared from the sky, they knew that their bond would only grow stronger, their resolve to chase their dreams unwavering. For they were two souls destined for greatness, bound together by a love for adventure and the open sea. They were inseparable. Eli's village was a collection of simple, weathered huts perched on the edge of the rocky coastline, their thatched roofs swaying in the salty breeze like a gentle reminder of the waves that crashed below. The villagers were a hardy lot, their faces etched with the lines of a life spent in harmony with the ocean. They knew the rhythms of the sea, the unspoken language of the waves, and the unyielding power of the storm. They lived off the bounty of the ocean, fishing the cold waters and tending to their small plots of land when the sea grew too rough for travel. Eli's father was no different. Thomas Marrow is a robust and hardy man with a weathered face that tells of years spent braving the elements at sea. His hands are large and calloused, a testament to his life as a fisherman, pulling nets and steering his boat through both calm and turbulent waters. His hair is a salt and pepper gray, often hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat that shields him from the sun. Thomas is a man of few words, but his actions speak volumes about his character, kind, dependable, and fiercely protective of his family and village. He possesses an innate understanding of the sea, a knowledge that he has passed down to Eli, nurturing the boy's dreams with stories of adventure and freedom. Despite his rugged exterior, Thomas has a gentle side, especially when it comes to Eli. He encourages his son's aspirations, understanding the call of the ocean that he too once felt as a young man. Thomas is the anchor in Eli's life, providing stability and guidance as the boy navigates his path towards his dreams. Thomas spent his days out upon the water, returning with the day's catch and tales of the creatures that dwelled in the depths. Pirates and their daring escapades were as common as the seashells on the shore, and young Eli listened intently to his father's stories, dreaming of the day when he too would set sail and explore the vast, uncharted ocean beyond the horizon. The small wooden ship that Eli treasured was a gift from his father, a symbol of the bond they shared and the dreams they both held close to their hearts. As Eli ran his fingers over the intricate carvings on the ship's hull and sails, he could almost hear the creak of the wood and feel the sway of the sea beneath his feet. He would often sit for hours, lost in thought, imagining the ship sailing across endless oceans, battling storms and outwitting pirates. His father, a wise man, saw the spark in his son's eyes and knew that it was only a matter of time before Eli would set out on his own adventure. He taught Eli how to navigate by the stars, how to read the tides, and how to spot the signs of an approaching storm. He also imparted upon his son the importance of honor and loyalty, reminding him that while the life of a pirate might seem glamorous, it was often fraught with danger and moral ambiguity. As the years passed, Eli grew into a strong and capable young man of only 16 summers, his love for the sea and his father's ship only intensifying with time. He spent countless hours on the rocky shore, watching the waves crash against the jagged rocks, dreaming of the day when he would leave his village behind and explore the vast, uncharted oceans. As Lila grew older, she began to take on a new role in the village. She became the town's herbalist, tending to the sick and injured, concocting remedies from the plants and herbs that grew in the rocky soil along the shore. Her knowledge of the medicinal properties of the flora was encyclopedic, and she was revered by the villagers for her healing touch. Eli, meanwhile, continued to hone his skills as a fisherman and sailor, spending long days out at sea, returning with the day's catch and tales of the marvels of the ocean. His father was proud of his son's dedication and determination, but he couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness as he watched Eli growing into a young man, ever closer to leaving the only home he had ever known. One afternoon, after a particularly arduous day of fishing, they returned to the village and Eli made his way home. The seas were rough and unforgiving, crashing waves like thunder on the rocks below. A storm was coming. As he neared their small cottage, Eli noticed that Lila was waiting outside, a concerned expression on her face. She hurried over to him, her arms laden with a bundle of fresh herbs and flowers. "Thomas," she began, her voice quivering with urgency, "You must come with me. There's someone in the village who needs your help." Eli followed Lila to where his father lay on the bed, covered in sweat and shivering violently. His heart sank as he saw the pain etched on his father's face. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice trembling. Lila turned back to him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "I'm not sure, but it's bad. He's been burning up with fever and shivering uncontrollably for hours. I've done what I can, but I need your father's help. His knowledge of herbs and remedies is unparalleled." Eli nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He knelt beside the bed and gently took his father's hand. "It's all right, father. I'm here now. Lila and I will take care of you." He glanced at Lila, who gave him a reassuring smile. Thomas, though weakened by the fever, managed to summon a faint smile. "Thank you, my son," he whispered. "I'm glad you're both here." With Lila's help, they eased Thomas into a sitting position and gave him the cup of steaming liquid. He took a tentative sip, wincing at the bitter taste, but nodding his approval. Lila watched carefully as they waited for the effects of the potion to take hold. "It should help bring down his fever and soothe his aches," she said, her voice barely audible over the sound of the crashing waves outside. "But I'm afraid it won't be enough. Whatever is ailing him, it's strong and we need to find a way to fight it." Eli nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. He glanced at his father, whose face was already starting to look a bit less flushed. "We'll find a way, Lila. Together, we'll find a way." Outside, the wind howled and the rain began to batter the cottage. As the storm raged on, they sat by Thomas's bedside, their hands clasped together in a silent prayer for his recovery. The hours passed slowly, each one bringing a new gust of wind and a fresh deluge of rain. But through it all, they never left his father's side. Unsure of what else to do, Eli turns to Lila, his eyes pleading for guidance. She takes a deep breath, her hands trembling as she presses a hand to her forehead. In a low, steady voice, she recites an ancient prayer, asking for the gods' intervention and protection. As she speaks, Eli feels a strange calm wash over him, and he finds himself believing in the power of her words. Together, they tend to Thomas, doing everything they can to make him comfortable and ease his suffering. Hours pass, and the storm begins to subside. The wind dies down, and the rain turns to a gentle mist. Eli and Lila exchange hopeful glances, their fingers entwined as they watch Thomas's chest rises and falls with each labored breath. At long last, he stirs, his eyelids fluttering open. He looks around the room, confusion clouding his features, before his gaze settles on them. "Eli," he rasps, his voice barely audible over the sound of the lapping waves. "Lila." Eli feels a lump forming in his throat as he leans forward, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You're going to be okay, father. You're going to beat this." Lila nods, wiping away a tear of her own. "Yes, Thomas. You have us here, and we won't leave your side. We'll take care of you." Eli takes his father's hand, squeezing it gently. "We love you, father. You just rest now, and let us handle everything else." Lila nods in agreement, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Yes, Thomas. You just focus on getting better. We'll be right here." Eli stands, offering Lila a hand up from the bedside. She takes it gratefully, their fingers entwining once more. Together, they make their way to the front door, stepping out into the cool night air. The sky is clear now, the stars twinkling overhead like diamonds on a velvet cloth. The waves crash against the jagged rocks below, the salty spray misting their faces and hands. They walk hand in hand, finding a spot atop a large, flat boulder that juts out over the sea. The air smells of brine and seaweed, and the wind whispers through Lila's hair, carrying with it the distant calls of gulls and other shorebirds. They sit there in silence for a moment, gazing out at the endless expanse of water before them. The moon paints the waves with a silvery light, making them glow like liquid mercury. I remember reading about a cave, Eli begins, his voice barely audible over the sound of the surf, just a few miles north of here. It's been abandoned for centuries, and no one's ever ventured inside. But there are rumors that it's full of ancient scrolls and potions. He turns to Lila, his eyes gleaming with hope. I think we should go there. Perhaps we'll find something that can help my father. Lila nods slowly, her expression thoughtful. It's worth a try, she says, her voice tinged with uncertainty. But it could be dangerous. The entrance is said to be hidden, and who knows what might be lurking inside. Eli's heart skips a beat at her words, but he refuses to let fear take hold. He squeezes her hand reassuringly. We'll be careful. And we'll go together. We can face whatever challenges come our way, as long as we're together. They sit in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts, weighing the risks against the potential reward. The moon dips below the horizon, painting the sky with a swath of deep indigo, studded with twinkling stars. The breeze picks up, sending a shiver down Lila's spine, but she finds it oddly comforting. Eli breaks the silence, his voice barely audible over the rhythmic crash of the waves. Do you think we should wait until morning? He asks, glancing at her sidelong. Or should we try to make the journey now? Lila bites her lip, considering the question. It's so late. I don't know how far it is, or what sort of obstacles we might face along the way. Maybe we should wait until morning, when we can see better. She pauses, looking out at the dark water once more. But if we wait, we risk him getting worse. We can't let that happen. Eli nods, his expression solemn. You're right. We can't let him suffer anymore. He stands, offering her a hand up. Let's go, then. We'll make the best time we can in the darkness, and we'll find what we need. Together, they climb down from the boulder and make their way along the rocky shore, their feet slipping and sliding in the wet sand. The air grows cooler as they venture northward, the trees and shrubs giving way to scrubby grass and jagged outcroppings of rock. The stars overhead seem to grow brighter, and the sound of the surf fades into the distance. After what feels like hours of walking, they come across a narrow ravine that cuts through the rocky terrain. In the center of the gully, partially obscured by overgrown vines and tangled brush, is what appears to be the entrance to a cave. The air here is heavy with the scent of earth and damp stone, and the sound of rushing water echoes through the darkness. Eli turns to Lila, his expression determined. This has to be it, he says, his voice little more than a whisper. She nods, her heart racing with equal parts excitement and fear. Together, they step forward into the darkness of the cave, their hands reaching out to feel along the rough stone walls. The air inside is cool and damp, carrying with it the earthy scent of centuries-old stone and the musty odor of long undisturbed vegetation. The sound of rushing water grows louder as they venture deeper into the cave, guiding them deeper into its mysterious depths. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for part 2.